welcome to the show. It's been a weekend, so I'm trying to think. It was day 65 of the Lockdown Golf Podcast. Sounds about right. I hear. I mean, I think it's been a long weekend for me. We have man, I look like shit right now. So in my town, we have the like every other year, anything you want out on the curb garbage day tomorrow. Well, actually, it'll go out.
You guys do it every other year
or something like that. I don't.
They want you to collect 2 years worth of garbage, huh?
Yeah, apparently. But I don't know the, like, you know, no stickers, whatever. Just throw it all out on the curb and they'll take it.
Whatever you put out, they're going to pick up.
Within reason. It's like no electronics or your paint has to be dried, right? Maybe if you guys want,
okay.
I could review the rules. But so that was the big weekend plan, was to get to work on that and just clean house. And we did a great job, but we did most of the work yesterday. I was just exhausted on Friday, so I slept till like 9 a.m. Saturday, which was, you know, with 2 small children. That's an impressive feat. God bless my wife for letting me do that.
Yeah, that's like sleeping in, and you might as well sleep till noon with little kids.
And yeah, after everything, working on the house and everything yesterday, I was still exhausted. So, all right, cool. Well, we'll get to why I had an alarm set here shortly. But I had an alarm set for 8 a.m. today, and it's like 6:15, 6:30 in the morning, somewhere in there. The kids are both up, waiting. I wake up and the dog's up. I'm like, she needs to go out. Said, all right, well, I'm up. I might as well get the pork shoulder smoking, you know, nice and early. I'm up. So we hit what we're recording this at about 10 o'clock at night, and I am just wiped. How you sounds like you've had a chaotic weekend. How's your weekend, Chris?
Yeah, it's been busy. So played golf Saturday morning with some guys that I haven't seen in forever. Not J-Riv, not the usual pairing. It was 3 other dudes, so played in the foursome. Chevy Chase, which we kind of discussed. Although I think you've told me the tunnel story, but I don't remember the tunnel story. But to answer your question, no, I did not go in the tunnels. So I played some golf Saturday night. We had our big, for the golf tournament that I sort of manage and I guess you would say host in Arizona, which is still going to happen with or without me. We had our live draft. So we actually have, like, we go on Facebook and we do this live draft thing, which was sort of successful, but not as successful as I would have liked it to be. So I've already taken notes for next year.
What does that even mean? Not as successful as you would have liked it to have been?
Well, because there's a lot of downtime between picks, right? So you've got 2 teams that are picking between. We have 40 players this year that are gonna participate, and you know, we already had 6 players chosen, 3 from each team. But then from there, you just kind of you're going back and forth, right? Like a draft, but there's just a lot of downtime. So because the draft is literally live, like the captains were discussing picks after every pick. And so there was some downtime, and it's not like I have B-roll to fill the downtime. It's just like, I'm trying to fill it with bullshit.
I was going to say, it's not like a big video conference where you guys all chat.
No, but yeah. So we thought this is the first time we did it via video. And we thought that was going to be an option, but it turns out when you do a live video on Facebook, you can't invite others to also be on camera with you. So it was just me on camera.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Brutal. So I'm trying to fill the downtime between picks, and it was like, even I was bored. I was like, oh my God, this is brutal. So next year, I think what we're going to do, unless we have the option to have the captains on camera with me sort of hosting, we're going to kind of pre-draft, and then that way we can just announce like boom, 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 and
why wouldn't you just do Zoom, and then you could, like, worst case, share a screen that has your draft board on it?
Well, Facebook won't let you do that either.
Well, why do you have to do it? I guess why do you have to do it on Facebook?
Well, we don't, and that's another option next year. We could actually do it. We could do a live YouTube broadcast on my channel. We've got some other options. We can invite everyone to a Zoom call. Just have everyone jump on, and I can mute everybody except me or whatever. But I was under the assumption, since Facebook can do group messages, be it like very similar to Zoom, that we would be able to do this in the same way, but you can't. So. Lesson learned.
It feels like you're reeling in that. You're so pretty upset about it.
I was a little disappointed, but whatever. It's fine. We got what we needed to get done. So that was Saturday. And then today, we'll get to what I missed. But I got a call late last night that said, "Dad, I need you." And so I answered that call. And, when you have a child that says, "Hey, Dad, I need you," and then you go, no questions asked. And that's the way that parenting works. So that's what I did this morning. And then came back later today. And then we actually were like social. We went to a friend's house and sat in the backyard out, and did the social distancing kind of hangout. And we brought our own drinks, and we ordered some takeout or whatever, delivery. And it was super fun. It was great. We hadn't done that yet, and it was really nice. And my wife really, really needed it. She'd been quite kind of, I don't want to say depressed, but, very kind of, I don't know. She needed some social time with some people. And so it was very good for her.
You get like in a detached rut. That was spoken about today.
It's true.
It's not so much like a depression. It's closer maybe to a funk, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see it real bad with my kids. They're little kids. Like, you're just so used to not socially interacting with people in a conventional way that it's weird.
Yeah.
So
and I think some of us, like, I'll be honest, I could go months without talking to another human. I don't think it would bother me. But my wife is 180 degrees opposite. She is very social. She's very outgoing. She loves spending time with her friends, with our friends. And I think it finally caught up to her. And I would describe it as just like this melancholy. Like, it was just a sadness that she had, and she really just needed to go and talk to friends and be with friends and be social. So very fun. It was great to see him. Great to kind of hang out for a little while. And then I got home right before we're going to get going on this. And here we are.
We took a big step. We had dinner with my parents tonight, which isn't a new thing, because the pork shoulder came from my mother. So split with them. And, we've been quarantining and what have you. They've been doing it. It's not like, really none of us are crossing the different circles. Well, today was the big step.
Yeah.
We had dinner inside their house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there was one point I took my mom made this cornbread, and I had this big piece of it. I didn't want the rest of it. And just it's funny. You just instinctively go back in the old days. I just took the rest of it that I didn't want him here, and threw it on his plate. And I'm like, you can't eat that. We can't share food right now. But just sort of what difference does it make? Well, there's a huge difference between we're sitting near each other, and then we're eating eating chewed on food. You know what I mean? so I'm like,
yeah.
All right. But yeah, we ate, and my wife goes, she's like, it was so weird having dinner in someone's house. It felt like you went out to dinner.
Yeah.
No, just went to my parents' house.
For my wife, we use, we were at our friend's house, and my wife used their bathroom. It's the first bathroom that she's used that hasn't been in our building or in our apartment since March 13th. It's the first different bathroom she's used.
I'm trying to think. I have used my parents' bathrooms, and being over there, go in and go ahead and use the bathroom, but I haven't thought of that. That's a weird thing. The only bathroom I have used. Oh, that's wild. That's wild. That's
Isn't that crazy?
I think that's a new topic we have to have when we have people, I'll be like, how many different bathrooms have you used since quarantine? That's gonna be my new like icebreaker conversation with people. Like, hey, think about this. How many bathrooms have you used? And it's a good gauge if you want to be like, oh, I should avoid you because you don't take your quarantine serious. Like you've used like 6 dozen different bathrooms. I mean,
yeah.
Think about our personal sacrifice of not being able to poop at a golf course. And all these people.
It's been a challenge, man. I basically like when I golf, I'm just committing to not taking a shit that day.
I feel like
I'm just going to miss my window and that's it.
This might explain your golf game. You're just so clenched the whole time. I just got a text. I just got a text from literally here from Jason Highland of Sub 70 Golf, because what people may not know about him, he's a big pulled pork guy. Well, you've seen the group text. He's a big pulled pork guy. So every time I make one, I send him taunting pictures. And the one I made tonight, world class. I would put it up in a competition. It was that good. So I sent him that picture. And I'm like, it's pretty good, bro. So anyway, live. Hey, you heard breaking news. Jason Highland texted me about pulled pork.
That's a real. So you kind of mixed like a straight up brag with a humble brag all at the same time. That's very clever of you. Very smooth. Like on one hand, you just said you made a world-class pork roast.
Brag.
Right?
Straight brag.
Pork straight brag, right?
Good enough.
But on the other hand, like you kind of mixed your brags. Like you said, like I made this great piece of meat, and also my buddy from Sub 70 Golf, because I'm a huge golf guy, texted me about my world-class meat.
No, it's not. Yeah, he did. That's not a humble brag. That's another straight brag. I'm a big golf guy. I need to make sure people know I know people. Okay. Right. All right. Well, I mean, look, I know ChrisMcEwen.com. That's all I need.
Yeah, that's not a brag at all. Although, one more thing before we move on from the whole, like, you going into your parents' house and my wife and I going to a friend's house. There's like this new, I kind of felt it today. We were kind of talking about it on the way home. Like, what bigger sort of compliment can you give another human being right now than by spending time with them? Like, basically you're saying, like, I trust you so much to not infect me that I'm willing to spend time with you. Like, that's how much I trust you.
Like
it's like this whole new social, like, relationship, man. Like, that's a big deal. Like you're saying, if I talk to someone, they're like, oh yeah, I've used the bathrooms at 32 different places. I'm like, well, we're not having food together anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I kind of disagree in the sense that, like, yeah, if we're going to someone's backyard, I can keep, just like golf, I can keep away from you where you're not going to infect me. Now, here's where I agree with you. Our social abilities and time, all that is limited. And so you kind of make it count where you can, right? And I think just saying, like, out of all the people I could be doing this, or I'd want to be doing this, or things I actually want to, like, escape my quarantine and go do, I'm choosing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
sure.
So I may not be worried about infection, but it's like, I'm choosing you. All right. And then in your case, you're like, Chris, I've chosen you. And you're like, God damn it. Wow. What contest in hell did I win?
It's true though, man. Like, I'm not going to hang out with people that I can't trust. Yeah. Even in golf. Like, I don't want to be, because we've broken our 6-foot barrier, you and I. But I know where you've been.
No, I
know how serious you're taking this stuff.
I know we didn't, Chris. Don't tell people. Don't tell people the big juicy kiss I gave you. With COVID with COVID on me. Yeah. No, but all jokes aside, no, it's true. Right. I mean, it's also not like, but to that point, yes, we've been closer than 6 feet together, as I have with J-Riv, and got my kids with J-Riv. But like, at the same time, you also know I'm not going to be like grabbing your like a beer can out of your hands, or like,
well, yeah.
Well, let me tell you, but I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's like, and like you said, yeah, you know where I've been, you know, like how serious I am taking it, etc. But you also, it's like, okay, even if you're gonna break the barrier, I also, I know you're not gonna go crazy with it, for lack of a better term. Where it's like, I think
Sure.
of the people
Sure.
at the meat market, like pushing their way, budging in front of me here, and you're like, "What? Are you out of your goddamn mind?" But
Yes, they are.
they are, is the answer. Oh, speaking of us and our barrier, we don't have to go into great detail here, but in case you haven't, I'm sure you've done the floating, but don't forget to float that idea and keep me updated.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll do that tomorrow,
See what we're doing here?
and I will update you.
We're doing video cues. I forgot, because this is what people may forget. This is our Monday podcast, Thursday YouTube show. So if there's weird moments of silence, go watch the video on Thursday, and there'll just be weird moments of silence where you can actually see what was happening. Well, either way, it looks like we both survived another weekend without each other. Man, this is probably some of the least amount. I don't know. It's late. I'm tired. However you say that the right way. Amount of communication we've had in a weekend in a long time, and it was
true.
It was kind of weird. Again, I've said this before. It was unsettling, but not like, there is a certain sense of like, did I do something? Like, no, dude. It's like, you have to trust the world is. There are going to be elements of normalcy or just getting used to things where you're like, things will now things will happen, and it's fine.
Right.
It's weird.
Right.
Weird world.
I know.
I do feel like I have so much to talk about with you, unrelated to anything, and this is not the place where we need to pour all it out. So,
well, you've got a guest that we need to throw to, but then maybe tomorrow we can have our Tuesday catch up.
I was sitting here thinking, we've been teasing this guest, but then we do a whole intro part of the show where we're going to say who the guest was anyway. So all the teasing and not mentioning it by this point was a complete waste of time.
You're right.
And that's on me. I set the tone. That was on me. And
it's true.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, or anybody who actually listens to this, the day has finally come. A big guest, a big Sunday guest for our Monday show that almost did not happen. But as I couldn't sleep last night, I said, nope, we'll do it live. And
I'm so glad that you did too. I felt so bad. I'm so bummed that I missed it, but what are you going to do?
There'll be another one. We got him. We got him. Andy Gorman of Andy Gorman Golf / Golfin online coaching has been officially on the show, and we will have that for you here. So I had a great talk with him. I think it's a good intro to Andy. I think caught him on his day off tomorrow. As this is releasing, when he wakes up to this, it will be his wedding anniversary. So a happy wedding anniversary to him and his wife, Becky, who was his like right-hand woman for all of his Instagram live feeds. And Becky, I'm still sorry for being annoying and torturing you during those when you're just trying to do a good job as professional golf instructors. But yeah, we had Andy Gorman on. It was a good, fun conversation. And it was, I texted Chris earlier. It went well. We had about a 45-minute conversation, about another hour and a half after the fact about golf stuff. Well, no, really just golf and life in general. But the guy's a legend. Absolute pleasure to be friends with a guy, to pick his brain, to talk golf with. So hopefully people enjoy it. So why don't we throw it to Andy right now? All right, everyone. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend. You've heard about him on this show more than probably anything else. Andy Gorman of Golfin and Andy Gorman Golf fame. Andy, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Bill. It's good to see you online and be here with your audience.
This is very exciting for us. Unfortunately, our good friend Chris McEwen, when I say our good friend, I mean the world's. He's a friend of everybody. Chris McEwen could not make it. Ended up having to bail, but we said the show must go on. So Andy and I got together to have a chat it's a little earlier. We don't usually do this in the morning here in Chicago, but being Andy's based out of the United Kingdom and he's somewhere around 1,000,000 hours ahead of us in time zones, we're doing a morning show. We'll see if I can stay on my game enough to not bore you to death. But Andy, like I said, very exciting for us. We talk about you quite a bit on this show due to especially now with not now, but over the quarantine period, needing
Sure.
something to do. It's a great time for me to work on my wedge game, and you have been the miracle worker. I'm going to say saving my life, especially my golf life, but keeping me from going down this spiral of insanity. So I got to thank you for that. But more importantly, I want people to get to know you, right? You are one of the greatest legends in modern golf, as far as I'm concerned.
Bill, your flattery will keep me warm for a little while. But yeah, no, I mean we've obviously gotten to know each other over the last 6 months, I guess. Now, beginning part of the year, we started working on your short game, with some online coaching through Golfin, and then we, obviously you joined me on the Insta Live shows that I was hosting from my home, and to yours, and as I did with a number of golfers around the world. I mean, the shows were really successful for us. It was kind of a forced scenario, really. I guess the world changed for us around the middle of March this year, and it was like, what are we going to do? So Insta Live through Facebook failing, we struggled to get any kind of live on there initially, and so we jumped on Insta, and you saw me doing my thing and came on, and we kept the banter going, but we kept an eye on your golf game as well. And I'm just glad that obviously helping you, but helping a whole bunch of other folk around the world, tuning in from every continent, really. It's been fantastic.
I have to tell you, I am a little upset with you. I don't appreciate you going back to your quote real full-time job, which is actually teaching golf lessons, because not having the Instagram show 3 days a week is a major inconvenience to my enjoyments. So I am a little upset about it, but I do understand. Let's go back. So yeah, you and I started working together in the beginning of the year due to I'll just say it, my friend and your friend David Wheatley putting us in touch as he was working with the Golfin online coaching platform. And he's like, hey, you should check this out. I've been reading about all your wedge yips. And I said, yep, they're terrible. And he goes, hey, give it a shot. Maybe they can fix you up. Maybe they can't. And I'll admit it. I had that sense of, I'm sure it's going to be the same shit I watch on YouTube. And it's going to be like, yeah, it's great. You can tell me all these things you want to tell me, but I still can't hit a goddamn wedge to save my life. Little did I know. I think it was one and I said this in the post, one conversation with you, and you didn't see me hit a ball, didn't see me do anything, and I went out, and I'm not saying I was fixed by any means, but I already had things in my head to help me improve and was better, still got awful. And then I sent you basically, two videos, right? Two different angles. And you're like, yeah, here's some basic feedback. Just do this. And I mean, really, we haven't gone much further than that in terms of like changing anything. It's just been reiterating those basic things you've been telling me. And I don't want to say I'm fully solved, but the scores have come down and the confidence is almost there. So
yeah.
You're the
obviously,
real
I know the confidence is coming back because we have had some communication, of course. We haven't stayed silent by any means, both through the Insta shows, and obviously we, as your online coach, I've kept in touch with you, kept an idea on what's going on, where are you, sort of physically in terms of the technique, and obviously, I don't necessarily like to use the term mentally, in terms of, but there was an element of anguish going on, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that. You were
I almost think
skeptical.
you're not speaking out of turn. I think you're putting it
Yeah.
very lightly.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, got to be polite, haven't I? I mean, it's a show, but
it's very English of you to be polite. Yeah.
yeah, but I got where you were at, and and the importance, obviously, to to stay in touch with you, and sort of walk you through the journey, which is, as a coach, I think there's a difference between instructing, and teaching somebody and coaching somebody. You coach somebody, you feel the pain, you take ownership, you join the program, you build a program around a client's needs, but you ultimately you feel every part of the joys and the highs and the lows. And I'm privileged that that I have a way of supporting my family financially with something that I thoroughly enjoy doing, but something that I do feel I don't necessarily bring my work home.
Say,
but of course I've been working from home.
the last 3 months would tell me otherwise.
Exactly. So and that's a massive privilege to be able to share with folk from my home to theirs is and to yours, obviously, but to be able to I always feel one of my old work colleagues is to say to me, he was a did some physiotherapy. Basically, he said, arrive as a patient and leave as a friend. And I think that's a philosophy that I've taken on board pretty well in the last 30 years or so that I've known him, and I've known that statement. And I really do like to feel that. And that means you will feel pain and you will feel joy, because actually when you've had a good round, you've been in touch and let me know, and when you've hit some rank awful shots, you've let me know as well. And I'm there scrambling, thinking, right, okay, what have I got to do to help you get through the next round without those balls there as well. And obviously you're not my only client, so I get that emotional roller coaster as a coach, but I love as part of what I do and what I love about what I do. I feel like I'm making a difference, albeit very insignificant compared to the recent times that we've gone through. I make a difference to golfers, which makes a big deal of a difference. Means that homes are more friendly, at the end of a round.
It's exactly what I was going to say. It's funny you say that about golfers specifically, because first off, you said you're fortunate you can make a living to provide for your family doing what you love. And think about that for a second. Everyone loses sight of this with golf quite a bit. It is a game. It's a recreation, especially for non-professionals, right? For me, maybe you could argue I'm borderline. Yes, Tiger Woods, Brooks Koepka, Ian Poulter, they make their living doing this, but that's 1% of the golfing population. You get to make a living with a game. Like how great is that?
Yeah, we joke about it amongst friends of mine that obviously have real jobs. It's like you've never worked a day of your life, Andy, and it's not entirely the case, but I have worked pretty hard to
I know what I put you through. I would tell them, like, let me tell you about what he has to deal with me. That's not true. He's worked plenty.
I've been a full-time coach since I returned from the Caribbean. I had 5 years in Jamaica, and I worked for both the Jamaican government on a golf project, and then moved to work for Sandals Resorts, as I'm sure many of your listeners will be familiar with the products, the all-inclusive products there. And I was director of golf for a number of years at their premier event facility, and Charias, and that was hard work. That was a lot of work. We had to work real hard to get the golf course to be in shape all year round, and the busiest times were the most difficult times to keep the course in good shape, but we managed it. So I know what it's like to work hard, albeit in the hospitality business, which is again then very little difference between a golf course and a hotel, or a banqueting suite, or you are serving people at what they would like to do, and they're spending good money for it. If you're going to eat in a nice restaurant, you want good service. You come to a good golf course, you want every part of it, from the welcome to the reception to the caddies, to the golf course itself, to be as good as it can be. And so I learned a lot from doing that, and I learned my trade around that, and around golfing venues that are very much hospitable, albeit there was 12 Europeans that were making a stand against 12 Americans that turned up on a few occasions at the Belfry, which is where I was fortunate to learn my trade just before I turned pro at the end of 89, 90. So so I've been around hospitality. I understand that side of it now, how hard you work, and and I feel that I've kept that going in my face-to-face coaching, and I try to do that in my remote coaching as well.
That's probably a big difference maker, because in my head, when you just said that about it was hard work, because it was a lot like running a hotel. And I think one of the golf's biggest problems ends up being they take a guy who could build a club to a certain swing weight and bend it on a loft lie machine, and then go teach somebody how to get rid of a slice and go shoot 4 under over 5 days to pass a playing test. They're like, well, you know how to run a golf business now. It's like, well, no, those things do not mean you know how to run a golf business. And I know they put golf schools together these days that supposedly teach you that, but as we've often discussed off of this platform, it's golf frequently cannot get out of its own way. And I think that's part of it. It's like, because it's golf guys going, this is what golf needs. And it's like, no, understanding it's consumer driven and it is a hospitality thing, and equating it to hotels is pretty dead on, going, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to spend my money on. Please give me that. What kills me is how much golf will go, no, this is what you want. It's like, it doesn't work like that.
No, it's very difficult from a coaching point of view as well. When I flip that cap on, and I'm a full-time coach now, and have been for a number of years. I mean, like I say, 2002. I quickly realised that I had been out of the UK for 5 years, and had been exposed to doing things differently, which meant that there were very limited facilities that were going to take me on as a pro, as head pro. So I figured that I had to run on my own ship, which was great, but also you have to find a venue or in the end build one, and then ride the storm that goes with that, which wasn't all great. I didn't survive more than 3 years initially, but then again picked yourself up by the bootstraps and said, right, come on, you got to sort of keep doing what you got to do, and keep working on what you're good at, which was improving people around their golf. I just had to figure out the bit that we're not taught, which was sort of getting in front of people and saying, look, I can help you, but just give me a chance. Kind of, and I've had a roller coaster of sort of really good times and lean times, facilities closing down around you, and you then not working, and then of course those roller coasters of work and engagement and non-engagement, you then go, right, your doors are about to close. In fact, actually your doors are closing tomorrow, and what are you going to do about it now? Which probably gave me, looking back now, I'm just sort of as we're chatting away here, I'm thinking, crikey, those experiences I went through, losing facilities, sort of moved out of a facility for whatever reason, and I'd say pretty much all cases, even the Sandals returning to the UK, that happened after 9/11. I mean, I lost a lot, but 3,000 people lost their lives, the 3,000 families affected massively, on your homeland there, and my shit was pretty insignificant, but I was feeling it, and I had to come back to the UK with a suitcase. I had to leave my family behind in Jamaica. Initially it was only me could come out to get started, and then sort of crack on from there. So I know there's a lot of people in different but similar positions, that have gone on recently, and you just you have to look at each adversity and say, look, we get through this, and it means that a shank that you may feel, or a thin shot, as insignificant as that is in the grand scheme of things, is torture to you at the time. It's it's different, and I've struggled with the flat stick, and not so much with the wedge, but I've also taught an awful lot of people who really have struggled with the wedge, and so my specialism in overcoming sort of difficult times on and around the greens, and sort of with a wedge in hand, anything less than a full swing really, I can dip into the sort of life challenges that I've been through at any time, and and sort of say, right, okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, it's not this, but it means everything to that person standing in front of me right now, and how do I feel, and I don't come here having hold every putt, and I stand in front of you knowing how to hit every shot with a wedge perfectly, although you've commented a few times on the live saying, oh man, I just love listening to the sound of that. Well, there's been a few times where I've missed the sound of the ground and the club interacting, and caught the ball somewhat halfway up and bladed the ball across the green. But I'm fortunate that I know why I did it. And
I kind of have a bone to pick with you right now. You just said you don't hit every putt perfect, and don't not necessarily know how to stand in front of me and say you know how to hit every wedge shot. I wish you told me that when we started this, because now I feel like I've been duped.
Well, I think one of the most important things as a coach is to actually recognise the fact that what a bad shot feels like. And we never actually got to discuss putting in the early stages, but I know you've been on some of my lives, and for some of for your audience that haven't, I mean, in 1994, I was standing over 4-foot putts, not knowing which side of the hole I was going to miss on.
Yeah.
And I remember a conversation that I was playing in a local event here. I guess it'd be classed as it was a county event, so it was the Warwickshire PGA, and I knew it was the last event I was going to play in Warwickshire for a while, so I was moving to another county, and I was taking on my first pros position, and got this opportunity to sort of go out with a win, and I had never been hitting the golf ball so well. I was striping it off the tee. I was hitting fairways. I was hitting greens, and managed to hit 33 greens in regulation that day.
What? I know this is a wild sort of left turn on this, and we can come back. What? Because you're a short game guy, but I know at heart you're a gear nerd like myself. What driver and irons were you playing in that tournament?
Great question. I just got to dial back now. So yeah, I was using off the tee. Was right at a cusp there. Which one was I using? Let me come back to the driver. But I was in the throes, 94, in the throes of moving to Top Flight. It's of course my hometown, guys, for you at the time, certainly. So yeah, I was making a transitional change. I'm going to say I was using Ping driver and irons at the time. Fairway woods, and certainly, I mean, the old wooden 3-wood was.
I was gonna say,
the beast of all tee shot.
Were you in persimmon at that point? Because that was right when everyone was sort of still transitioning from persimmon and metalwood.
Definitely in wood, and because that turned out to be a really good year, a really weird year, because it's when I first sort of started twitching on putts, but actually it was periodic. So I got to final stages of Open Championship qualifying, and probably should have got through, but I think we've all said that one, haven't we? At some point. Well, those of us that have played.
I've said it a million times. Yeah.
but I got close to qualifying. I was tied 8th with 14 qualified in the final stages at that point. I played with David Fairty, actually, which was great fun for 2 days.
Get out of here. So what's funny about that is one of my friends based out of Bristol,
Yeah.
he has his big open qualifying, like best shot. I think it sounds like best shot he ever had making it through was also in a round with David Faraday.
Yeah.
So it's like I know 6 people in England fairly well, and 2 of them have open qualified with David Faraday. Imagine that.
Yeah, David was great fun, and he shot course record the second day, which was just incredible to view. If not a little distracting, when you're trying to qualify yourself, but going through all the emotions of being in a position to qualify after the first day. But to actually witness the round of golf that we did, where 17 greens in regulation, all the fairways bar one, where he wedged it out, wedged it on, and hold the putt. And he was just knocking in putts from all over the place. We shot 63 round Kilmarnock Barassi, which was just an incredible round of golf. Probably the course of playing its easiest. Certainly the easiest that I'd seen it. The previous day was a little trickier, but I was kind of winging it along. Then I'm sort of in my element. I'm playing with a Ryder Cup player. I'm playing with sort of a legend in the game at the time, and it obviously still is for different reasons now. But he made us very comfortable, as myself and Craig Jones, which was the other lad. And he made us very comfortable and, sort of easy to play in that sort of stage. And of course, 6 days later, he's tied 4th, on the Sunday evening at Turnberry, and, had a chance to win it, which was just incredible, which my sponsors were quite happy about, because I said, well, I think he's got half a chance. So at 64 to 1, they made a few quid.
There you go.
Tied 4th, but I think they paid out at 4th at the time. So, we were all begging those putts to go in up the last, because we weren't bothered, whether we won it or not, as long as he finished in the top 4. And yeah, my sponsorship was secured for the next year.
So short game guru here, and I took you on this tangent. Let's go back to the story. You're playing in the Warwickshire County Open, and you're standing over 4-foot putts, not knowing which side of the hole they're going in. So you were playing everything, and then it came down to a putt, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, it's sixth hole in the first round. It's ridiculous. I'm sort of 1 under par through 5, and I'm quite happy with. But I'm hitting the golf ball nicely. I've tapped in for the birdie that I've had, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. And my dad was caddying for me, and unfortunately, it was the last day he caddied for me. He said he couldn't watch again, and I said goodbye to Dad 20 months ago. So it's quite poignant when I talk about it. But I'd hit a great second shot to a blind pin. And I'd hit the flag with the second shot and finished 4 feet away, and I stood over the putt, and it never hit the hole. And then the next 4-foot putt on the way back didn't hit the hole either. And I managed to scramble the next one in and walk into the next tee. My dad said, "What happened there?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I just didn't know which side of the hole I was going to miss it on." And Dad wasn't a man of 100 words, and he just said a couple to me. He said, "Well, just choose one side." Profound.
Right.
The next hole, I've done the same thing. I've virtually knocked the flag out. It's a par 3, knocked the flag out 3 putts later on 1 over par, and I should have been 3 under. And I'm like, we're walking to the 8th tee, and he just looked at me, and I've gone, I have no idea. And he said, "Well, I'd just tap them up closer to the hole then if I were you." And I don't play golf like that, but had I have done so, I would have probably won the tournament by about 8 or 9 shots. Because I finished second, having shot 1 over par for 36 holes with 10 3-putts inside 10 feet. I knocked a few putts in as well, so do the maths on that. I finished, I had 10 3-putts, and there was a few shortish 4s which managed the 3-putt par, and there was only 1 par 5 on the course, so
I'm glad you said that, because I felt like hearing that story, I'm like, oh no, I caught the putting yips from you right now, just from hearing that story. So I'm glad you finished by going, oh, I still made putts. So, okay, there was.
I mean, I did. I remember switching the hands around at lunchtime and jumping on the green after grabbing a quick sandwich, and went cack-handed and thought that'll help. And I think I went from 6 or 7 3-putts in the morning to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. It was one of those, but it was only the short putts, and that was the daft thing. And I struggled with that for a number of years and sought advice and never got the answers. And big names. I'm not going to name folk.
Come on. This is the Drive Range Heroes Lockdown Golf Podcast. Where else can you name drop?
One of them's not around here, but not around anymore. But I did have some really good experiences with some phenomenal coaches and reputable coaches. But they were telling me the same stuff that I'd read in the PGA training manual. So if you want me to dish some dirt, I'm going to start there. The PGA training manual taught me how to yip. Nice. It taught me to get my eyes over the ball. It taught me to rock the shoulders. It taught me to hold the putter light like a bird with a broken wing or tube of toothpaste without the cap on. 90% of the golf ball's start line comes from the club face. And if you're not in control of it, if you don't have a good purchase, I'm not asking you to choke it, like you're trying to stop a viper, from spiking out at you. But just get a hold of that club and get control of it. But you can't do it with any tension in your body, which means you can't bend over either. Mm-hmm. You can't bend over because you can't practice because your back aches. I mean, you don't have to be an athlete to have a backache if you're in the wrong posture. And it took a while. And I mean a while, when I started looking at the stuff that was in the manual that had, in effect triggered it. I didn't realize it had triggered the yips, and it took me a long time to figure that out. And all these reputable coaches were telling me the same thing: get your eyes over the ball, shorten the putter. I mean, I got down to a putter that was 31 3/4 inches long. All right, I'm 5'8" and a half, so I'm not the tallest fellow in the world, but 31 3/4 meant that I was almost bent double. But you're going to putt well from there because you can get your eyes over the ball and you can see the line. Well, what line are we talking about? With all due respect, there is no line on the green. It's an imaginary line. And with all due respect, I could stick my head up your arse. If you think I can see an imaginary line, I can see one from there as well. So there's no point, in this whole
that might be one of my favorite Andy Gorman drops I've had in our time.
With all due respect to anybody who's teaching putting, the only place you can see your eyes over, the only place you can see the line from the ball to the hole is with your eyes over the ball. I mean, what line are we talking about? The imaginary line. And that's why, I use the reference point. Stick your head in the darkest place on the planet, and you can still see an imaginary line. It is not the only place. So why do we need to get our eyes over the ball? So stand a bit taller, so now you're in an athletic postural position. Yeah. And that's when the penny started to drop. The light came on. It was like, oh my word, I can putt from here, but not with a 32-inch putter.
Right.
So I had to stand a bit taller. As I stood a bit taller, and then got some data from, Putt Lab came into being at that point, and we had some electronic feedback. We could see what was going on. The shorter the club, the more I was pulling it. These are, it's comments that, your listeners are going to go, like, hold on a minute, I pull my short putts as well. Long range putts can't get the ball to the hole. You can't because you're not moving your body.
Yeah, so you've said a few things that I can see people listening to me like, what is he talking about? Line? There's absolutely lines, and you need your eyes over the ball. And I forget, like, oh yeah, they haven't spent the hours watching the Insta streams. I go, no, this all makes sense. Trust me, he's dead on. I've drank the Kool-Aid myself. So yeah, I feel like if you don't believe him, guys, sign up for some remote coaching with him. He'll show you. He'll show you. Yeah. You made a comment earlier about, actually you kind of made two about it, how specifically I go have a bad day and you help with this. I go have a bad day on the golf course, and my point being, it's just a game, move on with your life kind of a deal, but can make for a tense day at the house after because I'm crabby about a golf game. So a good port, and this is, I think, largely to do with, for me, was what I got out of you maybe more than anything. You do have to do a lot of mental work. It isn't just a case of, hey, hold the club like this, swing it like that, fixed. Golfers are a weird mental breed, and it is just a game, but they live and die it, and so much of their attitude is based on that. You are somewhat of a therapist, of a mental neurotherapist of some sort. I don't know which, so I'm not going to put any specific profession or
Yeah.
study of mental
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I'm not a doctor. We all know this. You do work the brain a lot.
Yeah, I'm not a sports psychologist, so let's put that out there straight away. And I don't profess to teach any psychology either, because I'm not allowed to. But when you've nurtured, I was really fortunate. I go back to Jamaica, '97. I've been asked to coach the national team, and I've got juniors out there which are playing in the men's team, because obviously we know how juniors can be, and got 3 of the kids under the age of 20 are playing off sort of 1s and 2s, and so they're going to be part of the national squad. And so I've got 18, 19, 20-year-olds with me, and I've got 64-year-olds playing off 1 and 2. And I feel like every one of those 16 kids, men and women, boys and girls, in effect, every single one of them are like my kids, and I feel like I've just fathered. I wasn't a father at the time, in my own loins, and so I'm standing there going like, what's going on here? And you can't be everywhere when everybody's out on the golf course, but you're living, what's going on the course, and trying to help them make decisions during practice rounds, and it just, you live in every emotion. And I think, at that point then, especially when you become a father, and, I became a stepfather before I became a father, and, it was, you immediately take on a different role, and that helped me as a coach as well. And, I'm not saying that you can't be a good coach without being a father, but you've got to take on fatherhood qualities, and, in order to be able to sort of go through that. And, at the same time, then you come out the other side and say, like, there are certain things that, are important about today. This is a tournament that is going to mean a lot to you, but you know what? It's more important that you wake up in the morning, you start breathing consciously, that, because the golf tournament, is kind of incidental really, but, it's everything today. And so you're going to live life, everything today, everything's going to matter, and you're going to get upset, but park it, and get over the bad shot, because there's another one that you're going to have to face. And, we use the old cliches and, the old quotes, but, it's Hogan's, backyard tournament this week at Colonial, and it's the most important shot is the next one. I mean, it is, and that might be next week Friday. So, but park what just happened this morning, or yesterday, because it just it's not going to matter until next week now.
When Jordan Spieth did that with his 4-foot 4 putt he had.
Yeah,
and
sure.
knocked him down, and he came right back, and he was I mean, I don't know what's going on today yet, but was leading the tournament. So
Yeah,
good example of it. God, that guy has had a few years of having to do that. Let's be honest.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, a guy can knock in a 25-foot putt like he's doing it for fun, and then stand over a 4-footer, and say 4 whacks later, it's just like, what happened there?
Right.
But again, I can appreciate it as well. Having been there, and it's not a nice feeling, because you don't have the answers at the time, and then, for me, looking at it, I was thinking, right, well, at least he's approached it with a bit of authority. It's up to 4-foot putt, 4-foot past, and again, and again, and again. And you go,
Yeah.
At what point do you get the message? I mean, he knocks a 3.5-footer in for his 4th putt.
Right.
I mean, that's just priceless. But I've been there, and I understand that. So hindsight says, well, not the first one closer, and you've only got a 2 putt. But you don't play golf like that.
Yeah.
it's not like, standing on a free throw line and, giving it a throw and you miss, because there's no rebound. You've got the rebound to deal with in putting, just cozy it up and tap it in and that's your score done. But, and you would do, of course, if you're on the 18th on the last day of the tournament.
Yeah, right.
Before for it, you wouldn't go and ram the first one in.
Right. Yeah. It's almost kind of disappointing when you find yourself, for those very reasons, thinking that way, where you're going, man, I'm putting every putt rather than try to have a shot at making it. I'm just playing to not 3-putt. And while there's value in that in your scores and timing, it's like, well, again, for me, I'm just playing for fun, right? It's a game. So who cares if I do 3-putt? Like, fine, my handicap goes up and I can start sandbagging. Fine, I'll take it.
Yeah, it only really hurts when you're paying for the beers, right?
Right, exactly. So we talked a lot about the remote coaching and just sort of how you operate and gotten into your brain a little bit. Let's maybe wrap up with, hey, golf's back open in the UK. You're allowed to teach. What people may not know is you do a lot of in-person coaching.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about, now that you can basically do your job again, what that's like. If you want to talk about your facility and those kinds of things, fire away.
Yeah, well, fortunate that now we can actually get the facility open. So, from Tuesday, we're officially from tomorrow, non-essential facilities can open. That's the official term. Retail stores, etc. So that would qualify, I suppose, as a fitting center. I've got an 800 square foot studio. I'm very fortunate that I've got a big enough facility that I can stand one side of the room and the other, and we're probably almost in another time zone, let alone county. So we've got plenty of room in the facility. So that's the first thing. We've been coaching for the last few weeks now outside. So we've had some great weather. It's very unusual for springtime in the UK, as you well know, and but we've had some incredible weather, so that's been really fortunate. So I've been able to get some short game work done, and that's been great, just to get back out with folk and just to see that they're well, and students become friends and stay in touch. And lockdown was difficult because you didn't, if you want to stay in touch with a positive note, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, or we didn't have an end game.
It's almost like people existed, but they weren't real.
Yeah, it was a little bit almost zombie state, I suppose, and it was getting a little bit more that way. And then the shackles are off, golf is open, and it's like, oh great, we can golf again. And so from that point of view, that's been good. I've had a few of my clients have just said, look, I'm desperate to get into the studio again, so I'll leave it. So, this week is pretty busy. So, Monday isn't ordinarily my day off. It is an admin day for me. It's where I pick up the phone and I call folk as much as I possibly can. But it is my wedding anniversary. So, Becky's got me tomorrow. So we wouldn't have done live had we have. Actually, I think she would have probably cracked the whip and said, you're going to do live.
As I say, Becky would be like, hang on, text Bill, you're not doing it. And then we're going to do it. I don't feel like dealing with him today.
So obviously for your audience sake, Becky was my not wingman, but my earman. So during the lives, I had Becky. I got off onto the teaching trail and helping folk, work through what it was that they were asking questions on. And, there'll be 20 questions by the end of the first one. And, so Becky kept a note of those and just fed them through my ear. And, so she's been fantastic. I couldn't have wished to have had anybody better, to spend lockdown with, but also to help my business along as well. And, we're looking forward to the next phase of that, which is obviously getting back face to face, the studio, 3 putting greens within the studio, Zen Green stage, which you may have seen on some of the Sky Sports channels have got the moving green stage, which allows us to replicate putts on certain venues and obviously to coach different lies, etc. So it's predominantly just putting for me, but Putt Lab and Capto and Body Track and all the tech that I've got in there. And, we've had a little bit of a refurb just before opening up. So, I put in some new kit and, working with the brands like guys like Seymour and Even Roll, just custom building putters for clients. Just can't wait to get back doing that. Although I've been doing that remotely, doing a custom build for somebody remotely, has been a different way of doing things. But everyone has come back to me and said, crikey, I can't believe you've managed to get this absolutely spot on. And I've done 17 remote fittings during the lockdown period, which, just a little more than one a week, which is just incredible, really. Folk were trusting enough to be able to let me do that. And it's been a lot of fun just to being able to make sure that a client has been ready to go once the doors opened up, and they're starting to see improvements there. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to just getting out and getting back in the mix, really.
Was it I noticed this myself because we aren't doing our normal social activity. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of people in our neighborhood and we chat from afar, but it's still not the same. You're not having your day-to-day personal interactions you have with people. Have you found it? I also feel like I sort of know the answer to this because of just knowing you. But have you found it difficult in the face-to-face interactions, getting back to it, sort of knocking that rust off, and it, like being used to in person interacting with these people, and then let alone on a golf or that might make it easier, but a golf instruction platform?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate because we live in a nice neighborhood. I can't say anything other than that. We do live in a nice neighborhood, and we're very fortunate. But our neighbors are great, and although we're having conversations from over the road, which now sort of and they're not highways, so we are literally able to have a chat, and we'll go and stand on the same side of the road now and interact. So, but yeah, we've missed people. We've gone out and initially we weren't allowed to shop together, Becky and I, and, to be able to go and do that. And then you bump into somebody that not so much bump in because you've got your 2 meter distance, of course, but, you're sort of standing, sort of 2 arms length away is kind of weird. And then, of course, you go and see somebody you've not seen for 10 weeks who you saw every week, and, it is pretty strange. I think it's of course, how have you been, the first instance, so fortunately, the way that I worked my lessons, I allowed, my 1 hour slots were, in the first instance with every first client, I allowed an extra 45 minutes so that we could just clear the air of, what we've been through. They were as interested as I was, about them. So, there was a little bit of, I've said this 4 times already today, but it's okay because, they haven't heard it, and the element of, I think people touching base back with people they know and people they like to spend time with. And of course, they're paying to spend time with me. They're more than just like me. It's a little different, to say the least. But, I think, just connecting again, and I'm not a hands-on coach anyway. I will get in there and sort of, if you're not getting it through my words, then, I will make sure you've got it by feeling at some point. But to actually have to stand 2 meters away from somebody and, sort of coordinate, connect and, sort of make all this sort of make sense of everything, whilst also being effective is a bit of a challenge. And I say not as big a challenge to me as it would be for some coaches, because I know, a lot of coaches are very hands-on, but for me, even still, not being totally hands-on is difficult. But I think grateful is the most important part of it. Out the other side, with a business still intact and, the opportunity to be able to go face to face again, but also with the knowledge that, if it happened again, I would do more than survive. So
Yeah.
I think that's the gratefulness that I've had, and, and the new audience, of course.
Yeah. The audience has grown. hopefully we'll grow from this. All right. Well, I'm sitting here thinking, I forgot it is late in the afternoon where you're at, so I don't want to take up all of your day. Um, Listen, I want to thank you personally for what you have done for me. I think people should definitely go and check you out at andygormangolf.com.
We're soon to go, andygormangolf.com. We're literally ready to go live on that within the next day or two. But andygorman.com will link straight to andygormangolf.com. When you
Okay, andygorman.com, and then at Andy Gorman Golf.
At Andy Gorman Golf on all of my Insta, Facebook, and I have a Twitter channel. So yeah,
follow them. They're good. Andy posts tips, and they still help me, even though I can go straight to the source. Hey, thanks for finally coming. Well, I should say, sorry it's taken so long. So I want to say thanks for finally coming on, like it's been you holding it up. But thank you for coming on. Very excited this happened. Hopefully we'll get you back on soon, and we can do a little less like professional golf talk and make you more uncomfortable.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm up for that. And I'd like to make Chris uncomfortable as well. I know he's ducked it today, but I'd love the opportunity to.
Oh no, that's not what's going to happen. You two will gang up on me. I'm confident in that, so I'm just preparing myself mentally for that.
You've got big shoulders. You can cope with that.
Yeah, I will. And then maybe we'll get Becky on too. Like, no, you've hid behind the camera long enough. Let's go, Becky. Anyway, tell her I said hello. Give her my best. And hey,
you're welcome.
Thanks again. And we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
We will, definitely. It's been a pleasure, and I hope that with a little insight that your audience has enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to doing it again.
If they haven't, I'm going to be very mad at them, and I will fix that. All right. Thanks, Andy.
Cool. You're welcome.